U.S. officials say China is hard to impact U.S. policymakers, rob secrets, and spy on the U.S. by the government. But how? The history of Kevin Mallory, a man who seemed to conduct a common commuter lifetime in Virginia, provides the reply. FBI agents sharpened their arms at Jeremiah Mallory, an adolescent permanent in the door of his building one night in June 2017, and said him to get on his knees. "They've got guns in his person," says Duke Clark, a household boyfriend. They were looking for testimony versus his dad, Kevin Mallory, a ex-Center Intellect agent, Central Intelligence Agency, official who had been espionage for the China by the government. One of Mallory's neighbors, a dog goer, was header downward the unit. All of a flash I listened the screaming. The cry of helicopter woke Elle's neighbor, Delrose Winter, who says she saw police force cars and dark vans at the building. Mr. Cameron Norris, a undergraduate who lived neighboring, saw dogs inquiring the courtyard and FBI agents transport boxes. They were take machinery out, a machine. FBI agents sought Mallory's building, a location in a red flag coated in China calligraphic house suspended near the front line doorway, his courtyard or, on two neighbors, a frenulum way wherever he utilized to go on rest. His road in Moline Waterfall, a Leesburg unit, looked love a war area, in helicopter turning in the air and gunman men charge via the herb. 1 year after Mallory, 61, was found those guilty of spying. In a actual life scene of The Americans, a TV spy AMD how conducted location in Northern Virginia, Mallory had lived a dual lifetime, he helping human beings on his road in courtyard job, went to chapel and assisted migrant in revenue tax forms. Yet at household he reported in China agents via public print and sold out them U.S. secrets. Present he many faces lifetime in jail, he will be condemned after the monthly. His penalty may be as a precautionary to other who may be considering spying, say U.S. Judiciary Division officials. It as well key points the strained environment of the US-China relation. The China officials are trying to profit within data on the White's building and the by the government, on to U.S. officials, and form the way how Beijing policies and its business and war activities are perceivable on the planet phase. China officials are trying to influence the view of political community and common Americans, on to U.S. officials, so they will supporting policies how are favorable to Beijing on issues range of the southward China Sea to exchange manipulate. A China Overseas Ministry representative, Hua Chunying, told the accusations are erroneous. "We never do such a things as intervention or seepage," she told. How is certainly not China's styling. In Beijing, country officials type the U.S. in suspect, and spying is punished strongly. The Joint Front Line was created in the 1930s in procedure to marshal forces over the communistic side by provided a joint front line for the side amongst such who are residing overseas. China students say they are singled out for study by the Beijing officials and as well by U.S. officials who suspicion them of creature spies. Leesburg, a city in Loudonshire, provides a tutorial sample of the communistic side's regime of operative. Arranged 40 miles of Washington, Leesburg has ancient-fashioned street lamps, building block sidewalks and picket line fences, causing authoritative Americana, and seems far of world dispute. Yet China agents lured Mallory, work out of his Leesburg household, in their spy circle. Individually China officials derived accessing to the ether of a regional wireless plant. The China officials purchased accessing to a Leesburg plant, WCRW 1190M, via a affiliate business. The 50,000W plant utilized to be posted in a cheap slung house in platter glass windows, but the location was sold out to a household several years back. By a new styling of control, WCRW transmitters were excited to Ashburn, a city nearer to Washington. The wireless towers are located on characteristic belonging by a business, Loudoun Water Supply, close and install of China's Churchgoing Lamp Fest, a traveling artifact how was outdoor in December. They requested a much stronger alarm, says Kristen Umstead, a regional formal, relating to the plant owners. A ex-CIA analyst who has investigated in Taiwan, she says how recent year the plant owners acquired permit to extend their coding several hours. A plant engineering says they now speak 24 several hours a day. I expect someone over my pay class is profitable focus, Umstead says. The wireless alarm is strong. On a later Saturday, listeners in Washington scientific on China satellites hurling via area and some artistic achievements of the Beijing by the government. Indifference. The news story bulletins, that are manufactured by China Wireless World, tended to hit and sinister color while accountability on the U.S. economics. In supplement, China officials speak news story bulletins in Philadelphia, Atlanta and some cities, onto Reuters. The coding of WCRW and the some stations, onto the paper China Impact and Us Interests, our portion of which is named as the Great Foreign Promotion Campaigning. China broadcasters say on the plant how they offer listeners in the region prospect and comment on news story and present events, so how human beings in the U.S. can find out which China is thought and proverb. For the China agents, Mallory was a capture. He has black tan wool, a wide smiling and lightweight going way, and he does not sip alcoholic or coffee. He had treated as a secret CIA official and detained safety clearances how gave him accessing to the nationality's largest precious secrets. By the period he was closed by the China in previous 2017, although, he was work as an freelance advisor and was fighting to do ends encounter. Randall Phillips, an inspector in the Mintz team, previous serviced as the Central Intelligence Agency's head member in China. Talk on the telephone of Shanghai. He says the China agents tested to do Mallory sense specific. They play in the boys' bustle, says Phillips. It's a period-honored method frequently joked on. I hold wait for the med pitfall, one CIA formal told Newly in a Washington pub. The China agents close Mallory not in a bar but on LinkedIn, proverb in a accidental path, hey, will you accede my web? On to trial accounting records. Mallory replied, I'm outdoor to everything. I've got to, you aware, pay the billing. Beijing officials controversy the Germans' expense, inviting it unfounded. Mallory, one of Niner family, graded of college in Utah in a policy scientific extent and consumable period in the war up work as a CIA operational. He lived in Iraq, China and Taiwan and marital Maria Nanhua in Taipei. In 2006, they purchased their building in Moline Waterfall for in their three-family, an adoptee Alaskan Malamute-style pup Foggy and Else Fellow, mountain range. Mallory and his woman tell China at household, a location adorned in vividly color-cast pillows, a edged image of a LDS tent and a Reese-pan vacationer on a cuisine resist. On Sundays Mallory and his woman would chief to chapel, wherever he was named as Hyping Mao. Lot of their friends at chapel are home China speakers, they chant lyric in China, thou can pursue the British language release in a hymn book, in a behind chamber. Other at the chapel include a such backdrop to Mallory. Cursory in China, these medium-aged men job for the CIA or some intellect agencies. As one of Mallory's friends annotated, thou can't swinging a corpse cat out of affecting who in a safety gap. Mallory utilized to recall human beings in Moline Waterfall how happy they are. Same detail, thou residing the us vision, recalls a household boyfriend. Same d speak human beings they should cherish which they include. Else boyfriend, Delrose Winter, recalls a day while Mallory and his household came above for a 4th of July barbecue. They wore scarlet, whites and dark blue on how Autonomy Day and seemed really patriot, she says. But following the 2008 actual property collapse, his fortunes modified. His building plummeted in importance, and after he lose his work. A scholar who lives neighboring, says, they were by harsh finance distress. Else neighbor says, they were by water supply, addition, how introduced to his despair. By the period the China agents got in concern in Mallory, he had $30,000 in letter of credit map obligation, on to trial accounting records, and was over in his hypothec payments. His new familiarity on LinkedIn entered him to who treated for the Shanghai Academia of Public Sciences, a believed tank how provides offices for scholars and lid for intellect agents. He proposed Mallory a stance as a advisor. Mallory flew to Shanghai and met his new bosses in a inn chamber. These men did not say they treated for the intellect agent, but they did not reject it each. For how meet, the wool on Mallory's cervix stood up, he after told. He had coordinated to get their cash, although they get you to crucifix a link, says Phillips, the ex-CIA official. One day you do, it's stronger to get of. Mallory refundable to Leesburg in a Samsung Galactic telephone that China had taking into account him, full in a talk annex by that they reported in him. How telephone after proven to be his collapse. While he got household, he said his woman he had concerns on his new work. In spite his reservations, although, he stipulated the China in data he had derived time work in the U.S. intellect services. On to U.S. officials, several of the content how he gave to the China was confidential. Mallory told how the agents said him, "We fair wish to know which trump card authority politics is departure to constitute." He said the China he had attached for a job in the White's building, and they emboldened his efforts. The agents as well prodded him for data on rocket defense system and some susceptible issues. But later things got very complex for Mallory. He texted a CIA source official and a secret operational, both of whom visited his chapel, and told he was hoping to say to who in the Central Intelligence Agency's East Asia Department. He told after he was looking to speak the CIA which he was training on the China agents, efficaciously proper a dual broker. These lyrics messages began to get on a furious color. Psychologist David Charney, who has interviewed several condemned spies, says they understand at a specific spot they can never go household, that can conduct to profound detention and terrorism. Mallory located confidential content how he had derived for the period how he treated for U.S. intellect agencies on a Toshiba South Dakota map, wrapper it in foil and stashing in his dormitory wardrobe. He said the China agents he was concerned how U.S. authorities would find his trick, if they were looking for me in regulation of country secrets and found the South Dakota map we would not be speaking present. Mallory's lawyers told how he did anything incorrect. They told he was just collecting data on China spying so he could report the CIA on Beijing's methods. He hoped to impression the CIA in his expertise of China tradecraft so the CIA would rental him behind. But prosecutorial introduced lyrics messages in trial as testimony how he was marketing U.S. secrets. Your subject is to profit data, he texted the China agents. My subject is to be pay. Mallory organized to encounter in a CIA formal in an Ashburn Inn in May 2017. Mallory's lawyers told how he was planner to show off his expertise of the China spying techniques. The prosecutorial told Mallory requested to say in the CIA officials not to impression them in his expertise, but since he requested to lead his tracks, Mallory was obviously amazed while an FBI-specific broker as well showed up for the meet, as prosecutorial after showed in trial. The presence of the FBI broker showed how Fed investigators were concerned in Mallory. Yet he transferred on as if all was penalty. He outlined the way the China had stipulated him in a safe telephone. At the spot, he estimated how his lyrics messages would stay ciphered. But as he tell, the telephone smashed. The messages abruptly emerging on the telephone's display time he was in the chamber in the FBI, demonstration how he had devotee his nation. For a length time he told anything. James Hamrock, an engineering who discussed the telephone for the FBI, says how Mallory was too trustful of the telephone and of the human beings who gave it to him. Without the knowledge to Mallory, the software program had a difficulty. Two of the counts, both of regarding to wherever he had devoted the crimes, include been omitted. By the government is hard to get the extortion restored. These two extortion do not influence his verdict, yet, lifetime in jail. Mallory dilapidated his own lifetime and throw suspect on other. Lot of the home China speakers who dwell in Lodenshire are irate. "We're us at first," says Taiwan-born Eiling Zhao, who rest her own business, Selection Insurance Coverage Web, in her child, Stephanie Zhao, and some household members. "If down there's any espionage activity event, I surely expect the man gets punished to the fullest." U.S. officials investigated the criminality of spying, creation and abbreviation how establishes motives, mice, cash, philosophy, trade-off and self. It's real how Mallory requested to do cash of the China, but in the end it was not lot, he gained $25,000 USD of his spy job. Mallory's building is now on the marketplace, a brief selling, its list at $740,000 and has lose more than rather than a tertiary of its importance. The China flag has been undertaken downward. Foggy and mountain range yet lie on a patching of wood chip in the courtyard on solar afternoons. They hardly see up while a postman comes. Mallory is creature detained in the Alexandria Arrest Center in Virginia, and he is wait for his sentence. He was in the court on an fall night, and he wore sticker shoes, white socks and a jail coverall, and his person was ash. For a telephone urge to his child of prison, he tested to explanation why he had been detained. "Yours mom knows I've been all up front line in all the type of material in the Central Intelligence Agency," he told, or, relating to the FBI agents, told, "Once these some folks twisted things about a slight beat." He told, "Things get complex occasionally." His boyfriend Kevin McLean treated in him in Iraq and says how he is harmless. "He mind he was making thing nice for the joint state," says McLean. Was he naive? Perhaps. A slight bit silly? Perhaps. Was he hard to wound the joint state? Completely no. Mallory's woman, and total fate, as a boyfriend describes her, is now drive a high school coach. Jeremiah leads the chapel team in pray and has the elegance how comes of year of student ballet. He is received prepared to go on a couple-year missioner in Australia, next his sibling, Michael, 22, who is down there currently. Jeremiah wrote to the trial in October and requested if he could hug his dad up he foliage, "It would be an memorable bless to include a recent time in my daddy." Lot of the Americans who include devoted betrayal were one-day pattern countrymen who went in a down helical and mind spying would assist them rotate things about. Overstick they yet see themselves as patriot, says David Charney, the psychologist. How seems to be real in Mallory, he telephone call his boyfriend Duke Clark of prison, and she says he remnant loyalist to the U.S.